Yes, good morning, everyone. Welcome back after the break. Welcome back to session 10th of day 4. I'm Shilpa, Assistant Professor, Department of ECE GRIT. Would like you all to welcome for 1 week FDP. It is my privilege to welcome our resource person, Dr. Karthik. So I want to have a small introduction about sir. Dr. Karthik completed BTech and MTech from JNTU Hyderabad. Dr. Karthik completed his PhD under the supervision of Professor Singham Jayantu. He is a former scientist of CSIR, CIM, FR, and NIRM from NIT Roorkela in 2018. He has published various technical papers in 15 international and 5 national journals. Also, he presented papers in 12 international conferences and 24 national conferences and also published 1 patent. His research areas of interest include landslides, slope stability, Internet of Things, wireless sensor networks, and soft computing. He was conferred with Young Scientist 2019, organized by International Association of Research and Development Organization, and Homi J. Baba Award 2020 by Eudoxia Research Center. He is working as an associate professor, R&D coordinator, and DQAC member in the ECE department at Stanley College of Engineering and Technology for Women in Hyderabad from 2019 June. He also worked as assistant professor in ECE department at KL University Vijayawada in 2018 and 19. Dr. Karthik is also a member in various professional bodies such as UAC, IENNG, IDES, IFERP, IETA, and ASR. He is also extending his services as an editorial board member in various international journals such as SIIREA Journal of Electrics, Communication, and Journal of Advances in Wireless Communications and Networks, etc. He is also extending his service as Executive Officer and Associate Research Professor for Eudoxia Research Center and Global General Secretary of International Electronic Device Development Association, IEDDA. Welcome you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Professor Shilpa, ma'am, for introducing me to the participants. Good morning to all. This is Karthik. Sir, can I share the screen? Am I audible, sir?
Yes, sir. You can share the screen now.
Is my voice is clear, ma'am?
Yes, sir. It's clear.
Sir, ma'am, are you able to see the screen?
Sir, full screen.
Yes, ma'am. Now is it clear, ma'am?
Yes, sir, it is.
Good morning to all. Welcome back to I think this is the second session of 4th today, I think. So this is Karthik. I'm going to discuss something about the Internet of Things and smart sensors and how this Internet of Things and smart sensor can be utilized for the industries. So in general, initially I will discuss something about the smart sensors and Internet of Things and its introduction about the various non-industrial applications. After that, I will go for the industrial applications. After that, I will show one case study which we have done in our laboratory. And also we have installed the same thing in the field. So that 3 things we are going to discuss in the following presentation. So in general, before going to discuss about the case studies and concept, I want to introduce that what is meant by a sensor and what is the difference between the smart sensors and the general sensors. So in general, a sensor, you know that it is a physical device. Before that, I request all the participants, if anyone if you are unable to see the screen or if you are unable to listen my voice, please inform me in between, because I cannot see the chat box and I cannot see your faces. So please inform me in between if I am not audible and if I am not clear. And if you are unable to see the screen also. Thank you. So in general, a sensor is a physical device, you know that, and that senses a physical quantity and it converts the signals into a readable format. It is a general definition of a sensor. So coming to the smart sensor, a smart sensor is also a sensor which at least having one sensing element as well as a decision making capability. That means it should have a capability to take a decision. It can able to communicate with the other sensor. So that is the basic difference between the general sensor and the smart sensor. So actually, why we need to concentrate on smart sensors? So actually, what are the problems in the conventional sensors? In general, when we go for the conventional sensor, we can see on the screen when we are utilizing a conventional sensor for the monitoring of the different parameters, we need to, the first problem is installation. Installation of a conventional sensor is very difficult. You can see that in the screen, you can see a person have to go a means unsuitable location, and otherwise we can call it as a danger location. A person have to go there and he should install that sensor, as well as when he want to collect the data, he should bring the data logger and he should go to that danger location and he should collect the data. So that is also another problem. And also the cost of the conventional sensors are very high when we are compared to the smart sensor or MEMS based sensor. The conventional sensor cost is very high. At the same time, the installation charges also very high when we are using the conventional sensor. You can see. So what are the conventional sensor? Extensometer, scragmeter, inclinometer. There are different geotechnical based sensors are comes under the conventional sensors. So, and also you can see that a separate manpower have to deputed to collect the data from that locations. So he have to collect, he have to go with the data logger and he should collect the data. So this is the basic fundamental drawbacks of a conventional sensor. To overcome this, we have introduced the concept of the smart sensors. So when we are utilizing a smart sensor, what kind of benefit we are going to get? We can make the data to a, we can make the we can make the wired data into wireless data. That is the one basic benefit we are going to get when we are utilizing a smart sensor. So what happened if you make the sensor data when we are making the wired data to wireless data? So we will get the, when a person need not to go to that location, automatically the sensor itself communicate with other sensor, like that it will communicate to the monitoring station. At the same time, we can collect the continuous data, not a discrete data, because you can see here, when a person is collecting the data, only that particular time and that particular event only we are going to collect the data. But we are making the sensor as a smart sensor. When we are installing it, instead of conventional sensor to a smart sensor, we are going to get the data real time, because even once every second also we can able to collect the data, and the cost of the advanced smart sensors are less, and the installation process is very easy compared to the conventional sensor. And we can make the data, and we can able to make the decision very fastly. And also some AI based smart sensors also introduced in the real world, so that automatically whenever any unfortunate situation came to that particular sensor, if it observes such kind of unfortunate situation, automatically that sensor itself give alert to the person, those who are working there. So that is a benefit of the smart sensor, and we make the data to a wireless. So that is the benefit of the smart sensor. This is the reason why we are concentrating on the smart sensor for industrial application. So in general, you know that the basic sensor. So basic sensor having the basically sensing element, after that pre-processing unit, as well as processing unit and display unit. So in the initial days, the sensor was designed in such a way that every block having every suppose pre-processing, generally pre-processing contains the amplification, filtering, such kind of things will happen in the pre-processing unit. After that, the pre-processed signal will be transferred to the processing unit. There the controller will be there, and that will be convert the electrical data, means electrical data into readable format. So there will be a separate block for the sensing element, as well as pre-processing unit, as well as processing unit, as well as display unit. So after that, the size of the sensor is still very large, so they have made the integrated sensor. But in the basic sensor, there does not have any intelligence in the sensor also. At the same, after that, they have designed the integrated sensor. So in the integrated sensor, they have fabricated the sensing element and pre-processing unit in a single IC. After that, they have made the processing unit in other box and display it into other box. Still, there is a possibility to convert that into the integrated sensor to a smart sensor or integrated intelligent sensor, so that finally they have designed. The problem in the integrated sensor is does not having the size is also high. At the same time, it does not have any intelligence to take the decision, and it does not having any facility to communicate from one sensor to other sensor. So to overcome that drawback, they have designed the integrated intelligent sensor. In that, the sensing element, pre-processing unit, processing unit, as well as display unit, they are fabricated on a single IC chip, and it is equipped with some intelligence algorithm, so that automatically the smart sensor can able to communicate with the nearby sensors. At the same time, it can able to take the decisions. So that means it have added some intelligence to, we are adding some intelligence to that smart sensor, so that it can communicate and it can make a decision during the unfortunate situations. So generally there are the different classification of, there are many classifications of the sensors. So we know that we have acoustic sensor, electrical sensor, magnetic sensor, thermal sensors, mechanical and optical sensors. These are the different types of sensors. So in general, by this term, we have decided, we have to know about what is meant by a general sensor, what is the need of the smart sensor, and what are the blocks are there in the smart sensor. After that, when we are going to select a sensor for in general, I am talking in the point of industry. So when we are selecting a sensor for any industry, when we are selecting a sensor for an industry, we should able to know how it functions. First, you should decide which sensing element you want to measure, means which sensing, what are the parameter you want to monitor, or what are the parameter you should need a continuous monitoring. So for that, first you should decide which type of sensing element you want, either temperature or pressure or displacement or any some other parameter, or humidity or air pollution, such kind. First, as industry person, we should know what is their requirement or which parameter we should monitor. After that, we should, this procedure is to select a sensor for industrial application. After that, before going to select, when we are selecting a sensor, first you confine that I am going to measure a temperature or displacement or anything. After that, you should also able to know how it functions, whether that that means the basic principle behind that sensor. As an engineer, we should able to know what is the actually which principle that particular sensor will function. After that, you should also concentrate. First, you should know which parameter you should monitor, and when we are purchased a sensor and when we are selected a sensor, you should able to know and which principle that particular sensor going to be function. After that, you should also know how this, how much power it will consume, because when we are installing one sensor in one location, does not matter, power consumption is not a big problem in such kind of cases. But if you want to install a sensor around, suppose if you are around 10-acre land or 10-acre place with the industry having a more number of monitoring parameters with the large area, in such kind of situations, you need to, in some situations, you need to install around thousands of sensors in that particular industry. In that case, and you may not have the power supply at that particular location, you may answer that, sir, there will be a solar. In some industries, the solars also cannot be installed in such kind of situation, because there will be a continuous blasting. In such kind of places, we cannot install even solar panels also. Finally, you should go for this batteries only. So what I want to convey, that when we are selecting a sensor, we should also concentrate on the power supply if you are installing a multiple locations. After that, accuracy. So the accuracy of the sensor also, it is a basic parameter, whether it is giving the accurate results or not. Suppose the temperature is 50 degrees outside, it is giving 30 degrees, then it is not good sensor. So like that, when we are installing a sensor, we should also know its accuracy. After that, we should also concentrate environmental conditions of that particular industry and whether the sensor can work, because we have tested with so many sensors for our applications in the laboratory. Most of the sensors which we purchased can able to, they are working perfectly in the laboratory. When we are trying to install the same sensor in the field, after 1 hour, after within 4 or 5 hours only, it is giving the random data. It is not related to the sensing element, which is not related to the parameters which we are monitoring, because we may not know which kind of environmental conditions will be there in the field, and same environmental condition will not be there in the lab. So we should also concentrate with the sensor which we are selecting, that should be functions as a lab as well as the field. So we should decide the sensor with its background and whether the sensor have utilized the same kind of applications other industries, such kind of information also you should know. So after that, finally the cost also plays a major role when we are selecting a sensor. As I told you that, suppose if you want to measure a temperature in only some industry, which is a small scale industry, suppose you say that there around we require around, suppose you understood that there will be 500 sensor we should install. So if you quote around 2 crores for that particular industry, small scale industry, they cannot afford. At the same time, for the measuring a temperature also, they may not give the 2 crores or 3 crores budget for the installation. That's why when we are selecting a sensor, we should also concentrate and we should also know the cost of the sensor, because we are not in general in the laboratory we may test with one sensor, but when we are installing the same kind of sensors in the industry with the multiple locations, in that case we should definitely concentrate on the cost also, because if the number of nodes are increasing, automatically the cost of the sensor, the entire monitoring system also going to be increased. So in such cases, most of the private industry, they may not encourage to install and may not give the chance to install the sensor. So we should also concentrate the cost of the sensor. After that, resolution and range. Whether what is the smallest value? Suppose if you want to measure the displacement of 1 mm, so the sensor which you have selected as the ultrasonic sensor, which is giving less than maximum minimum accuracy is 5 mm. So we will not function, we cannot satisfy our requirement. You can see that if you want to measure only 1 mm displacement, but the sensor is giving minimum 5 mm, that will not solve our problem. So that means what I want to convey, that we should also know what is the resolution of that sensor, whether that is giving our own, whatever our requirement. Because if you want to make an alarm after 1 mm, but it is not giving the 1 mm displacement, it is only showing 5 mm, the minimum accuracy is only 5 mm, then we cannot make that sensor for our requirement. And also range, how much distance it can, means distance, and how much coverage area of that particular sensor also plays a vital role when we are selecting and when we are placing a sensor in the industry. And also calibration and repeatability. In general, we know the calibration. Most of the sensors which we are going to utilize in industry, that should be calibrated. So in India, we used to calibrate in the CSIR labs. There are different calibration centers, as well as from the government side, some laboratory calibration centers will be there, as well as CSIR lab, they used to do the calibration. So in the calibration, in general, we may think that the calibration one time is not sufficient. That means what I want to convey, that if you want to use a sensor around 1 year, so you should do the repeatable calibration. Suppose in a day, you should at least do, today you have to do at least 1 week continuous, a week you should do the calibration, like a similar condition, and you should change the conditions to that sensor, so that whether it is functioning or not, whether it is giving the proper data or not. So once we installed in the field, it is not easy to replace, and every time we may not, people will, the industrial person may not accept to change the sensors and change the location, such kind of things they will not encourage. So that's why when we are going to deploy a sensor in the field, first you should also do the calibration. Even though after the calibration, in the scientific agency, by the scientific agency in the scientific laboratory, you should also do a minimum calibration in the laboratory. In our laboratory, we have also some basic equipment. With that also, we should do the calibration. Then only we should finalize that sensor. And after that, after the testing in the laboratory, then only we should go for the field to install that particular sensor. So that these are the different parameters and different things we should concentrate for installing a sensor in the field. So this is about the smart sensor, how the smart sensor should be selected for the industrial application. After that, Internet of Things. as I told you that generally Internet of Things will provide the sensors to connect the sensor to the cloud. You know that Internet of Things is a platform by which we are naming individual sensors. Assume that as a layman, we can say that a sensor need to be a name. So as every sensor should be named with IP address, so that that sensor can communicate to the cloud or local area network also, so that this IoT enables the sensor to communicate each other, as well as it can able to communicate to the cloud, so that we can able to, suppose the person, those who are sitting away from the industry, they can able to monitor and they can able to see the status of that particular parameters by sitting anywhere in the world. So this is a basic flexibility as of the Internet of Things. Actually, the concept of the Internet of Things, we can say that it is an extension of wireless sensor networks. Before the concept of Internet of Things, we used to make a mesh network, or we used to make a network, and we used to connect the devices using a local area network. We used to make some mesh network, and we used to transfer the data from one sensor to other sensor, like maximum up to 5 kilometers, 10 kilometers. That, and also that the data cannot be accessed by the people, those who are sitting away from that particular location. So to overcome the drawback in the conventional wireless sensor network, we have introduced the concept of the Internet of Things. By that, we can able to monitor the data and by sitting anywhere in the world. So that is a benefit of the Internet of Things. So what are the different applications of the Internet of Things? In general, we have so many applications of Internet of Things. As you know that we are using in the smart city, smart environment. First, initially, I will go for the non-industrial applications. After that, I will discuss about the industrial applications. And so coming to the smart city, smart environment, smart energy, smart agriculture, e-health, retail, logistics, and industrial control. So in different ways we are going to utilize. In short, I will finish this non-industrial applications. After that, we will discuss about how we can install this IoT based smart sensors in the industry, that we will see. So you know that in the smart homes also we are utilizing the Internet of Things, and where we can able to monitor the different parameters of the home, like if you want to open the gate, if you want to switch on your cooker, if you want to switch on your fridge or fan, such kind of things, we can able to download the app, and there we can able to monitor all the parameters in the home. After that, we can also e-healthcare. In that, due to the COVID pandemic, we have a insufficient monitoring, insufficient facilities for the monitoring the COVID patients. In such case, e-healthcare is the best option, where the wearable sensor, we are making the wearables, we are connecting the patient with a wearable sensor, so that doctor can able to monitor the condition of that patient by his glucose level, his temperature, his sugar levels, and BP, such kind of parameters. We can monitor by connecting a patient with a wearable sensor, so that we can monitor his health conditions. In the smart farms also, we are utilizing the Internet of Things, where we can able to monitor the when we are connecting the RF tags with a different machinery and animals to with the RFID tag, we can able to monitor where that located and health of that equipment. Such kind of things we can able to monitor using Internet of Things. So after that, e-waste management, you know this concept. So basically, in one example, I can say that the garbage cans. So the garbage cans can able to monitor, because in municipal people, every time they have to come and see whether the garbage can filled or not. Instead of that, if you make a smart sensor with IoT enabled smart sensor, so that if the garbage can fills, automatically a municipal van need not to come to there. Automatically, it will give the indication to the municipal people, so that if it is whenever it fills, automatically that will give an indication to the drivers. Automatically that municipal van will come, truck or van will come and collect the waste material from that cans. So this is also one of the important application in the smart cities by using the Internet of Things. Smart rails. So actually this concept, whenever the materials are in general goods trails, they used to transfer the material from one industrial location to another industrial location, because plant will be placed one place, I suppose, and raw material will be placed another place. This raw material will be transferred via rail to the industrial location, to the plant. So in such cases, in Internet of Things can facilitate the people to what are the busy hour, where when the track is free or not. Such kind of decisions we can able to make by using the smart rails. After that, smart toilet, this concept they are utilizing in the Japan. In the Japan, they are using the smart toilet. That means they are using some LDR sensors in the toilet, so that whenever there is no person inside the toilet, automatically the door color will be transparent, that make the glass will be transparent, so that from the outside only we can see whether it is neat or not, whether it is comfortable or, because instead of going and instead of touching the door and open the door and decide whether when we enter the washroom and see whether it is clean or not, instead of that, when we are making this smart sensor enabled toilets, automatically we can, by outside only we can see the neatness, how it is clean or not. That kind of facility we can able to make with the smart sensors. So actually what kind of components will be there in the Internet of Things? In general, it's having the Internet of Things identification layer, sensing element, communication, computation, service. In general, identification indicates the naming, which IP address it has, the sensor having the which IP address, and also sensing, whether you are utilizing the smart sensor or a wearable sensor or actuator, RFID tag, which kind of sensor you are utilizing here. That indicates the sensing layer. Now that's communication. You are using a Wi-Fi or RFID, Bluetooth, Z-Wave, or LTE, or which kind of communication network we are utilizing to data to the cloud. After that, what kind of hardware, which kind of controller you are using, Arduino or Raspberry Pi or either or Intel, or which hardware controller you are using, that comes under the hardware. And software, which software you are using, either which OS, means like which cloud, Nimbits, Handover, and that at the same time the software also indicates the graphical user interface, which platform you are utilizing to display the sensor values. And also services means which application you are using this particular IoT application. So what are the different cloud platforms which are available? In general, ThingsWar, SmartThings, these are all some free cloud platform where we can interface our sensors to the cloud. So actually this cloud platform will create a graphical user interface to the smart sensor. That means as how in a WhatsApp group, every member in the WhatsApp group having his own identity, like a mobile number. So that if we considering the WhatsApp group as a graphical user interface, every person in the group acting as a smart sensor, when we are saying that every person in the group is a smart sensor, so that every smart sensor having some window, and he can able to represent his status in the group by saying hi, by saying good morning. In the same way, in the cloud frameworks, we are going to represent the sun. We are going to interface our smart sensor with the cloud platform. In the cloud platform, we are going to know the status of the sensor by dividing the graphical user interface into a different blocks of the. Each sensor will have the different window in the graphical user interface. In that window, if we click on that application, we can able to know the status of that particular sensor. Suppose if you are installed a sensor in your classroom, when you are clicking that link, the class 1 will be that in the first sensor is placed in the classroom 1, so that the sensor value we can able to see in that particular cloud platform. So ThingsSpeak, ThingsWork, ThingsBoard, such kind of things are such kind of cloud platforms available free for the cloud platform acting to know the status of the different sensors. After that, coming to the industrial applications, how this Internet of Things and smart sensor are utilizing for the industry. So one of the best application is fleet management system. So nowadays, this fleet management is nothing but when we are utilizing more number of trucks, when we are utilizing the more number of trucks or different shovels, different machinery in the particular industrial environment, we should know its health means we should know its look. Actually, the fleet management system, they have designed to track the location of the trucks. But after that, nowadays, the fleet management system are equipped with the vehicle health monitoring system also. That means basic fleet management system is to track the vehicles in the industry. After that, so that we are able to know where the truck is placed and where it is moving, and that kind of information, we are tracking that system in the basic fleet management system. So nowadays the fleet management system is also equipped with the VHMS, that means vehicle health monitoring system. By that we can able to know the location of the truck, as well as what is the air pressure in the tires, what is the how much fuel is there, and how many hours it worked, how many idle state, how many working states, all that kind of information also able to monitor by using a fleet management system which is equipped with the VHMS, that means vehicle health monitoring system. So that this is the best method by which we can able to know the status, we can able to know the health of the equipment, as well as location of the equipment, as well as we can able to know how much of working time and non-working time of that particular equipment. So this is the benefit of the fleet management system. After that, nowadays IoT enabled conveyor belt systems also available, because in general the conveyor belt is nothing but if the distance between the plant to the raw material is less, they use it to transfer the material by the conveyor belt. So the conveyor belt is a belt on which we use it to transport the material from one place to another place, from raw material location to the plant. So actually we don't know the monitoring of the conveyor belt previous, still now in India we are deputing 2 or 3 management trainee or engineers to monitor the conveyor belt. That means when there is any discontinuity, is there any fire, such kind of things, he used to move around the conveyor belt and used to always monitor that conveyor belt. Instead of that, this particular technology was introduced by the Australian people. They have introduced the optical sensor across the conveyor belt, so that any discontinuity, that means any disturbance in the conveyor belt or any fire in the conveyor belt can be detected by this, placing this optical fiber based smart sensor in the conveyor belt. So this also be one of the best example in the industry how this IoT and smart sensor can be utilized. So after that, in the tunnel, so we don't have any technology to deploy wireless communication in the tunnel. You know that we don't have, till now we don't have any info, because we cannot make the network coverage area in the tunnel. So in that cases, we are also utilizing some RFID based technology, so that we are going to make some routers in some junctions. So from up to the surface, we are transferring the data by the wired communication. From the surface, we are transferring the data to the wireless communication. But
Sir,
any disturbance? Are you able to listen
Yes,
the voice?
participants, please mute yourselves.
Okay. So this particular concept is utilized to transfer and to track the person or machinery inside the tunnel. So it's a LT based system, but still now we don't have any particular technology by which we cannot identify, we cannot identify, and we cannot know the status of the person, those who are in the tunnel. So, but still now in India, we don't have any technology to track the person inside the tunnel. So still now the research is under process to transfer the data from tunnel to the surface, but we are failing, because we have also tried in so many ways to transfer the data, but finally we have decided to make communication to up to particular location to the wired communication. After that, we are placing some routers in between. So the local routers, and we have managed, and we are transferring the data to the surface. From the surface, unequivocally we will get the network coverage, there we can make it the cloud. So coming to the case study, which we have done in our laboratory as well as field. In general, you know that a landslide is happens due to whenever a driving forces are overcome the resisting forces, then the slide will happen. That means if the soil, the strength of the soil, generally landslides, you know, in general in the rainy season, northeastern states, we used to get the landslide. So we have done some laboratory investigations and field investigations to install some wireless network in the landslide area, and we have tested and we have done that particular work. So in general, the basically it has happened because whenever a driving forces overcome the resisting forces, automatically landslide will happen. That means what are the parameters to make this landslides? There will be a surface structures due to the blasting or due to the heavy machinery moving across the that particular hill. So to that reasons, there will be a slide will be happen. The major reason we can say that heavy rainfalls. Due to the heavy rainfall, there is a chance of landslides. So this is one of the biggest landslides happen in the world. This is in the USA around 2013. You can see how much material has collapsed, and this is the another landslides in the Jharkhand. You can see this has happened in 2018, I think. So in the 18, around 54 people were buried in the soil material, and there are so many trucks and so many people are died due to this particular major accident. This is the biggest accident in the India. So this can see the pictures of that particular. This is another location in the Madhya Pradesh. So this is our latest landslide in the Myanmar. There around 174 people killed and 100 people are missing and 50 people are injured. You can see this is also one of the biggest landslides recently happened in the Myanmar. So this is a problem in the landslides. So these are the different studies, different failures or landslides happens in the Indian scenario. So to overcome, so what we have to do to overcome such kind of problems? In general, finally, we can say that monitoring is the only solution to predict or to prevent the landslide. So monitoring is nothing but monitoring is measuring a reference points. We can say that it's a monitoring. Why this one? Because when we are monitoring, as we know that when we place a sensor in some location, we are continuously know the status of that particular location. In the same way, when we are monitoring is always required to know the stability or status of that particular parameter, to know whether it is limited, it is predefined range, and it is crossing the threshold. Such kind of information. So what is the need of monitoring? In general, to know what is the unstable locations, what is the risk. So to get the pre-warning to the people, those who are working, so monitoring is required. So monitoring for the landslides, we have so many equipment. You can see there are automatic total stations, light detecting and ranging radar, slope stability radars, GPS, GDR, photogrammetry, microseismic methods, inclinometer, piezometer, crack meter, optical time domain reflectometry, string potentiometer, shape accelerator. So these are the different monitoring methods to monitor the landslides. But the problem in these monitoring systems, suppose if you take the slope stability radar, so this radar which cost around 6 crores, because we cannot afford the 6 crores to monitor the hill. One location we can, but because it will continuously scans that location, if there any disturbance across that hill, it can predict. But because the people may not ready to invest 6 crores for that purpose, because so that is the reason why only very few locations India, they have purchased the slope stability radars, but most of the locations they are using the conventional monitoring systems. So we have decided that to monitoring such kind of situations, we have integrated some indigenous system in the laboratory to monitor such kind of location. So you can see on the screen, before going to, previously I have discussed about how to select a sensor, how to purchase and how to test it. Every procedure I will in whatever the procedure I have explained to select a sensor, the same procedure we have followed. First, initially, we have decided that which parameter we should monitor. Means we are going to monitor the displacement of the soil so that we can able to know this landslide movement. So for that, initially we have tested the different, we have considered the different method. We have considered the different smart sensors and we have tested in the laboratory. Some of the sensor is worked in the laboratory, but they are failed to work in the field. So in the process of that, we have tested with the different, initially we have also concentrated on the environmental pollution of that particular location. For that, we have done in the laboratory work as well as field. Around 1 week, we have done the different gas location with different parameters like humidity, temperature, all such kind of parameters also we monitored. After that, we have utilized some accelerometer to know the status. After that, we have decided, and we have also generated some graphical user interface, and we have tested in some laboratory, but we have the same test we have done in the laboratory, but we have not found in the we have not get the good results when we install the same sensors in the field. So actually we have also planned the method of installation in the landslide locations. Like this multiple sensor we plan to install, but problem is that when we install with the one sensor, we have not got the fruitful results because the environmental conditions of that hill area is different from the laboratory area. That's why we have tested with the different sensors. Initially, we have tested with the accelerometer, after the ultrasonic sensor, after that some gas sensors also. So finally, we failed to monitor the parameters in the field by using the sensor available in the market. So for that, we have decided, we have also gone through the different technologies. So finally, we have decided a time domain reflectometry to monitor the landslides in the Indian conditions. So actually, before that, we have selected the ultrasonic, accelerometer, and different other sensors also, and we have tested in the laboratory, and we have not get the fruitful results when we have installed the sensor in the field. That's why we have changed the sensor. So finally, we came and we have decided to a time domain reflectometry as a sensor for installation of our for pre-warning of this landslides. So actually, why we have selected this sensor? Why we have selected this sensor is these particular sensors are utilized in the foreign country to monitor the landslide, and so that's why we have also, this is the first time for us to install this sensor in the field. This is the first time for us to install this sensor in the Indian conditions. For that, so basically we should also know on which first we should, when we are selecting a sensor, we should know its principle, how this particular sensor can work. So actually we can say that this time domain reflectometry is nothing but a cable based radar. In the radar, that will transfer the data in the in the free space. Electromagnetic waves will be transferred in the free space. Any displacement will be there, that will be captured by the radar, and we can able to know the movements of that particular hill. But in case of cable based radar or time domain reflectometry, we need to, when we are monitoring a hill, we need to know the surface movements as inside the hill. Surface movements are nothing but am I audible? Is my voice is clear or not?
Yes, sir, it is clear.
Thank you. So this time domain reflectometry is nothing but the cable based radar. So here a coaxial cable can be utilized as a sensor. That means you can see that where is the different layers. You can see in the screen, you can see that the coaxial cable is installed across the hill. Any deformation happens, any displacement or any slide happen across the hill, the shape of the coaxial cable is going to be changed. You know that a coaxial cable contains the internally coaxial cable contains the uh, core layer as well as inner conductor and outer conductor, and also that coaxial cable can able to, whenever a deformation happens across the coaxial cable, this tandem and reflectometer continuously sends electromagnetic waves across this coaxial cable. Any deformation happens across the coaxial cable, some portion of the signal is reflected back to the TDR so that it can able to locate the movement, so that if that movement is crossing the threshold value, then we can able to know slide is going to be happens. So you can see on the screen, whenever the slide is happens, there will be on the screen, you can see that there will be a change in the waveform. So that indicates that whenever a slide is happened, that coaxial cable will change its shape, so that whenever we are changing the shape of the coaxial cable, the characteristic impedance of the coaxial cable is going to be changed, because coaxial cable is a combination of inner conductor and outer conductor and separated by an insulating material. So whenever any deformation happens across the coaxial cable, that characteristic impedance of the coaxial cable is changed, because we are twisting or we are changing its shape automatically at that particular location. Its characteristic impedance value is going to be changed. Due to that, the sensor value, which is the value which is given by the coaxial cable, is going to be changed based on that value. That value we are calling it as a reflection coefficient value. So that value is going to be changed by the sliding whenever the slide happens. So the entire system will contains the data logger, power supply unit, and TDR is a sensing sensor here, and multiplexer. So this is a sensor which we have purchased, and which have also purchased the multiplexer, by which we can monitor the 8 location. So this is a 8:1 multiplexer. So after that, as I told you that we have utilized the coaxial cable as a sensor. So you can see on the screen, this is a basic structure of the coaxial cable. There we have the inner conductor, outer conductor, and separated by the insulating material. Any two conductors are separated by the insulating material, which act as a capacitor. So automatically, whenever the capacitance value changes, the sensor value is going to be changed. So in that way, it will function. So that property, that method, that principle we are calling it the reflection theory. Whenever a electromagnetic signal is transferred across the coaxial cable, any deformation or discontinuity happens across the coaxial cable, its capacitance value is going to be changed at that particular location. So by calculating the transmitted signal strength and received signal strength, we are considering it as a reflection coefficient. That reflection coefficient value is going to be changed. By analyzing the reflection coefficient value, we are going to find out the location of the displacement or location of the landslide, as well as we are able to know the intensity of the landslide, means how much deformation happened, how much movement it is happening. Such kind of information we are able to find out by this particular sensor. So you can see how it functions, what are the basic principles around that. So you can see this is our laboratory setup to select this, to test the, even though it is a calibrated sensor, but we have tested the same sensor in the laboratory. You can see that is a coaxial cable. That coaxial cable is connected to a tandem. This is a basic sensor unit, and this is a data logger unit, and this is a communication unit, and this we are testing in the laboratory. So this is a sensing element. So this sensing element we have manually twisted with a different location, because as I told you that whenever a shape of a coaxial cable is changing, automatically the sensor value is going to be changed. So for that we have taken the 9-meter coaxial cable around in the 10-meter coaxial cable, and we have tested with the initially we have tested at the 1-meter distance, and we have observed the sensor value at the 0.84, but in other location it is a constant with some less values only. Wherever the deformation is happening, wherever we are making a twist, then only in that location the sensor value is high. Like that, after that I have tested the 2-meter distance, 3-meter distance, and 4-meter distance. Like that we have conducted the test, and we have observed that whenever the 1-meter range I am making the deformation, so that particular location the sensor value will be high, in other location the sensor value is low. So in that case we can understood that it functions perfectly in the laboratory condition. You can also see in the whenever I am twisting in the 9-meter distance, that sensor value will be high, in other location the sensor value is low. So whenever we are manual deformation happening at the 9-meter distance, because by hands only I am changing its shape, so that the sensor value is high at that particular location. So after that we have designed our own laboratory model to test the sensor, So we have given the manual displacement with the different types of coaxial cables. So you can see manual deformation means there is a second bench will having the facility to give the manual deformation. So assume that glass model is a hill. I have installed my coaxial cable across the hill. So and I have given a provision to the second bench to move. So whenever the deformation applied, manual deformation applied, the shape of a coaxial cable is, whenever I have given the displacement of 0 mm, there is no change in the sensor value. 2 mm, 3 mm, 4 mm, I have given the manual deformation. I have observed the sensor value, how much it is giving. Actually, these values are utilized to give a threshold, so that whenever 6 mm displacement happen, automatically I know what, whenever I see the sensor value as a suppose some 0.5, that indicates the 6 mm deformation. To know that, I have given this laboratory test. So, and also apart from the manual testing, I have also done the laboratory by using the press mission. We have given different loads across the sensing element, and we have tested. Suppose like this, we have given, initially we have given 300 load, 300 kgs load, 400 kg load, 500 kg load, 6 up to 1100 kg load we have given across the sensing element, and to know its value, its sensing value. Because when we are installing the field, we don't know which kind of condition it experience. To know such kind of information, to understand which sensor value it gives, for that we have tested in the laboratory with a different ways of testing. We have conducted the manual testing, after we have made the block model, after that we have tested with the different machinery to know its response, to know the response of the sensor. Finally, after doing so many tests, we have concentrated and we have understood the behavior of a sensor, and we have understood the behavior of a and we have also know what are the threshold value we can keep. So that we have understood by using a laboratory test. After that, we have designed our own communication modules, because we have till now we have done the testing and as well kind of calibration to a sensor. After that, we have designed our own communication modules in the laboratory, and we have interfaced our own communication module. We have integrated our communication modules. Initially, we have used Zigbee to test. Initially we have interfaced Zigbee modules with the sensor unit. After that, we have tested in the laboratory. This is a connection diagram of that particular entire system. So after that, we have made a mesh network in the laboratory also, to how that from the sensor unit to the destination, whether the data is transmitting or not. So that for that we have also tested by made the mesh network in the laboratory. We have communicated the information. After that, the same mesh network we have installed in the field. So the different locations are different sensors, because as I told you, we have utilized the multiplexer also. So this multiplexer can be utilized to monitor the multiple locations. So this is a device which we have integrated in our laboratory. So before going to install that, we have also in the field, we have also designed one router system. So that router in general, to increase the range of a communication unit, we have done the one, we have integrated one router also in the laboratory, so that router can be increase the range of a communication module. So range test, how to mean, before going to design a router, we need to know already given in communication module is how much distance it is able to transfer. Actually, we have made the one local communication system. At the same time, we have also made the IoT enabled system also, because if there is a network issue in that particular location, that the data should not be lost. That's why we have made some local area network to communicate the data in the local server. At the same time, we have also interfaced the sensor with the Raspberry Pi, so that the data can be stored in the cloud also. So this range test can be utilized to know the how much distance the given communication module is transferring the data without any disturbance and without any loss of the data. So we have conducted the range test in the laboratory as well as in the field on the communication modules. So finally, we have selected one location in the India, which is Maharashtra, where they used to happen the failures, where used to happen the regular failures, regular landslides. So 3 locations we have decided. So in the 3 locations, where that locations also decided by conducting the so many tests, because every rainy season in that particular area there are slides are happening, there will be a small village across that hill area. So the people, those who are staying, sometimes people are dying due to these slides in the rainy season. So that we have decided that location. To place that location, to decide the location also, we need to do some laboratory investigation, whether giant survey or some simulations using a different FLAC and Plaxis softwares will be available. So by using that geotechnical survey, we can able to know in which location is suitable to install a real-time sensor. So finally, we have conducted some geotechnical survey on that particular location. By that, we have decided some unstable location. That unstable location is selected to install our IoT based system there. So to say, as I told you, that after completion of all the laboratory work after completion of all the laboratory, initially we have tested the laboratory we have done the laboratory test on the sensor, like in the way of calibration. After that, we have tested with the communication module, because we have interfaced the communication module to the sensor unit, and also we have done this test using the communication module, whether this communication modules can work in the field or not. To know that, we have done some range test in the laboratory. Before going to install, we have also done the same test in the field also, so that whether these communication modules can able to transfer the data from one place to other place, or any garbage data is coming or not. Such kind of things also we have done. So after that, after conducting the different laboratory investigation, different field investigation, we have decided one location in the top of the hill. That means we can, in other words, we can say we have decided the location is the top of the hill. In the top of the hill, we have selected the 3 locations for the basic investigations, because we cannot afford, we don't have a budget to install the multiple locations. So finally, we have selected the 3 locations. In that 3 locations, we have installed our sensor with the communication unit, so that So there is a different option. There is a different there is a different. I mean, there is a complexity in the installation also. You can see here. So initially, as I told you that before going to install that location, we have also conducted the lab field test, whether that communication module is transferring the data or not, whether the sensor is giving the proper readings or not, and also we have also done the range test in the field. Where range test indicates that means we used to transfer the 10 packets of the data from one transmitter node, and whether receiver node is receiving the 10 packets of the data or not. So that we have done with the tool of XCTU. That XCTU software can be utilized. The XCTU platform can be utilized for doing the range test of across the communication module. So in the downside, you can see the sent packets and received packets. The sent we have 10 packets and received 10 packets. This test we have done in the laboratory with the different ranges from 100 meters, 200 meters, 300 meters, 1 kilometer. Like that, we have done the different locations in the different range of in the different ranges to know whether we are getting the garbage data, whether it is a sensing data is transferring to the desired destination or not. So that we have done in the field also. The same test we have done the laboratory, and the same test we have done in the field also. So this is a field range test images. So after that, we have decided to install. The method of installation you can see here. 3 locations, and the 3 locations are separated by the 25 meter. The depth of the installation of the coaxial cable or sensing element is 11 meters. So in the 11 meters, we have how that 11 meter inside the soil we should drill.
Matt. Karthik sir. Sir, we are unable to hear your voice. I think there is a network issue with the sir. We'll wait for 1 or 2 minutes. Okay. Meanwhile, you please fill the feedback form. I'll post it now. Just give me 1 minute of time. Yeah, please check now. Please fill the form for today's session 10. So morning already session 9th attendance link has been closed. Please fill 10th session's attendance link.
Okay. Can you give the access to share the screen?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now you can share. Yes, sir.
Yes,
Ranjit, this is session 9, sir. Session 10.
Ma'am, can I continue?
Yes, sir, please continue. They'll be filling the forms.
Okay. So, ma'am, am I audible?
Yes, sir, now it is clear.
So when we are selecting a sensor, so when we are installing our sensor in the field, you should also compare the data with the conventional sensors. So for that, we have also made some conventional arrangement there by which a conventional sensor can collect the data manually, but our IoT based sensor also continuously give the data to the cloud. So in that way, you can see how we have installed in the field. We have placed our own, we have designed our own graphical user interface where we have monitored the 3 locations. As I told you that we have installed the 3 location. In the 3 locations, how the data is coming, you can see. So we have also stored the data in the around, we have monitored 6 months period. So where we have saved the data in the local computer with the device, you can see. So also we have given a training to the people, those who are working in that particular location, so that in the options of the we also, they can able to monitor that, they can able to see the data, they can able to understand whether any slide is happening or not. Such kind of things also we have done. And we have also trained the people, those who are nearby that particular location, so that they can able to operate the system if there any battery problem, if there any communication problem, so that the people need to know, those who are working in that particular location, we have given a training to them also. So around 6 months period we have monitor, and during that period we have not found any displacement, and we also monitor the same concept, same displacement, same hill with the conventional sensor. And we have also conducted the test, using the conventional sensor. That means 3 location we have installed with the conventional monitoring station, as well as the IoT based monitoring station. So by after the 6 months, we have analyzed the data of the IoT based system as well as the conventional based system. So we have made the conclusion that in during the by the conventional monitoring system also we have not found any displacement across the hill, and we have not found any displacement during that particular period. Doesn't mean that that is stable, that may be happen, that failures may be happen after some time, but during our monitoring period we have not found any displacement of the hill in the rainy season also. So how we are conveying that, because the conventional system also does not give any displacement, and the IoT based system which we have installed also does not give any displacement, because there is no slide happened in during that season. That's why we have concluded that there is no displacement during that particular monitoring time. So in this way we have done the testing in the laboratory. So finally we need to know, when we are selecting a sensor in the field, when we are installing a sensor in the field, we need to concentrate many parameters and many problems we may face when we are installing our sensor in the field. You can see that even though this is a sensor, is a calibrated sensor, but most of the time in the laboratory, we have done, suppose if you see any conventional accelerometers or ultrasonic, that particular sensors are giving perfect results in the laboratory, but when we are installing the same sensors in the field, that are not giving any fruitful results, because that sensor values are varying with the different environmental conditions. When we are installing the same accelerometer in the hill station, automatically after half an hour, 1 hour, it is sending the garbage data. So that will not solve our problems. That's why when we are selecting a sensor to install in the field, you should concentrate and you should able to know how it functions, which kind of readings it will give, which kind of values it will give, with a different kind of environment. For that we have done different ways of calibration test, and we have done the different, we have also made different laboratory models. We have done different tests on the sensor, and how with the different condition, how it will respond. So, and we should also know by the laboratory investigations also, by laboratory investigations only, you should able to know how much threshold we should keep. So that kind of information also can be possible by conducting the laboratory investigations. So after completion of the laboratory, because when we are using the communication module as a Zigbee, but general Zigbee, which is only giving 100-meter range only, even though they have given 1 mile as the manual, they are given 1 mile, but is not giving the distance up to 1 mile. Only 100 meters only it is transferring the data. So after that, we have changed the communication module to Zigbee Pro, that have, even though they have mentioned it's a 1.5 mile distance, it can transfer the data. But we observed that only 1 kilometer, that is LO, a line of sight range only, it is transferring the data. So that means after 1 kilometer, we have placed another router so that around we up to 5 kilometers, we have transferred the data without any missing of the data, without any garbage of the data. So in this way, we have conducted the laboratory investigations, field investigations, and we have also compared the data with the conventional sensors, as well as we have also monitored around 6 months period. So in this way, when we are selecting a sensor and when we are going to install a sensors in the field or industry, we should concentrate on these many parameters. So with this, now we have also published so many papers related to this, and these are the parameters. So with this, I'm concluding the sessions. And if you have any discussion, now this platform is open for the discussion. Now, if any participants having the doubts or having any issues, you can ask me. Now I'm open for the discussion. Now I want to say thanks to the coordinator for this event has given me this chance to present our work in this platform.
Participants, any doubts?
You can unmute yourself and you can ask if you have any issues to discuss.
Or you can also place any queries in the chat box also. So it seems that there are no doubts. Participants,
Okay.
One thing I need to tell you here. Sir's topic, whatever sir has covered, was elementary model of sensors. And so you have an elaborative session on sensors and advanced sensors and how they are going to be used in telemedicine in tomorrow's session. That is 13th session we will have. So, okay, sir. And thank you very much, sir, for introducing all the different types of various sensors and how they are used in fields and how to select a sensor in a particularly industry. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Now, please
Can I
fill
leave
the
the session, ma'am?
Yeah, yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Your participants, please fill the attendance link, which is shared in Zoom chat. And please, for the afternoon session, please join at 2 o'clock.
Madam, excuse me, madam. Can you post in the WhatsApp group, madam? Please, attendance link. Please.
Yeah, okay, sir. Okay, sure. Okay, sir. Then I'll be posting it in WhatsApp group. I'm ending the meeting then.